Hey there, my fellow plant and nature lovers. Welcome back to our channel. Or if you're new here, this is the go-to channel for information on how to care for different kinds of plants, flowers, and trees. So let's jump right into our video today. Today we're going to talk about the angel wing begonia. This is a beautiful type of begonia. Now, if you're familiar with begonias, this is a family of plants, flowering plants, that you can see there's so much variety, and this is one of the reasons why I absolutely love the begonia family, is because there's just so much variety and the leaves are just amazing on many of these different types of begonias. But today we are going to talk about the angel wing begonia, and this one here is actually mine. If you are a plant collector, and you're really into the foliage, this is an awesome one to add to your collection. It's easy to care for, it's not going to give you much trouble at all, and it's easy to propagate too. So if you have friends that love plants, you can share with them. If you're someone who is truly into the foliage of your plants and not just the flowers, this is a spectacular plant for that. Obviously you can see that the leaves are they are so unusual, so unique. This is in the begonia family, and of course there are many different plants in the begonia family, but this is one that I particularly like, and I think it's a super popular one. You'll see it a lot on Instagram posts and also on Pinterest as well. So let's get into talking about this one. Now, one of the most common names for this plant that you probably recognize it by is the angel wing begonia. There are other names as well. You can see here the list: scarlet begonia, coral begonia, begonia dragonwing, and of course there's a cane begonia. The two that you're going to hear the most common, the angel wing begonia and also the cane begonia. Is this an easy plant to take care of? It's easy. Overall, I feel like it is a very easy plant. I haven't had much problems with it at all. It's just not giving me much of a difficult time taking care of it. I typically, in the winter months, of course you want to cut back, but I typically will touch the soil and then I will just see if it's dry, dry enough. If it still feels moist, then I'll kind of hold off for a little bit. When you do water it, you want to make sure that you don't have it soppy wet. These plants absolutely love humidity, and so what I do is I have a small little humidifier which I use to put around my plants that love the humidity. And when you're propagating this, because it's a very easy plant to also propagate, you want to make sure that you have a lot of humidity when you're doing that as well. So some people use pebble trays, some people use humidifiers. I personally like humidifiers. I live in Missouri, so it's really humid here, but in the winters it gets very dry, and so definitely pebble tray or a humidifier, either way. As far as using a humidifier, a diffuser actually it's basically a humidifier in ways, and actually this is the one that I use in my room. I just have it in a small area. It does put some moisture into the air, probably not as much as a regular size humidifier. Obviously, I don't put any kind of oils or anything like that in it, just simply water, and it seems like my plants do really well with this. Does the angel wing begonia flower? Now the flower in these is really pretty, but the main thing I think that people collect these for is obviously the foliage. You can see how beautiful the foliage is, but the flowers, they do have different colors. Sometimes they're red, but the most common that I see is almost like a peachy color or a light pink color that will come with them, and they kind of droop down. What kind of sun requirements for this plant? Sun is a super important part about this, because if you look at the leaves, some begonias have almost like a super waxy appearance to it. You see that the leaf, it's not super waxy appearing, but you can see another type of begonia that I have here. This is a more common begonia that you'll see. The leaves almost have like a waxy appearance, and these types of leaves, they will be a little bit more tolerant to more direct sunlight. These you do not. The angel wing begonia, you do not want to put in direct sun because it can burn the leaf. And so indirect light is super important, but it needs to be bright, so you don't want to be putting in, obviously, in the shade too much, where it's not getting any light at all. As far as fertilizing, houseplant411.com recommends to feed monthly in the spring and summer when the angel wing begonia is actively growing. Feed with a liquid plant food high in potassium. Fertilize every other month during the rest of the year. To prevent leaf burn, feed begonias when the soil is damp, and always dilute the food to half the recommended strength. How big does this plant get? The big thing is that as these start to grow, they probably really need to have some kind of support because they'll really start drooping over. So you can either use the same kind of sticks that you see on orchid plants, because these will get quite tall. Some places that I've read anywhere from 4 to 10 feet, and I suppose it could be even taller than that. So it really needs that support. Mine is relatively small right now at this time, so it doesn't really look like it needs too much support. It's been doing really well overall, but not really growing that fast, and I'm okay with that because I kind of like it in this little pot like that. How about propagating? As far as propagating, there's two main ways to propagate. Number one is just using cuttings from cuttings and putting them into water, and then the roots will start to take root over approximately 2 to 3 weeks. The other thing that you can do is you could put it directly, use some rooting hormone from the cuttings and then put it directly into soil. Are doing your cuttings from your angel wing begonia, the scissors that you're using, that you make sure that they are sterile. I will use typically alcohol, and I think the majority of gardeners, planters, flower lovers that are doing things like propagation, that's typically what they use is the alcohol. When you take the plant out of the water and then put it into the soil, a lot of people end up finding that they lose their whole plant after they do that. And so that's kind of a tricky part of it. I have more success when I put it directly into the soil. So that's probably something that I think I would probably do with this. And so this, like I said, is obviously too small to probably start propagating it yet, but its time will come. I'm sure it's at some point. The nice thing about propagating is it kind of gets it a little bushier looking, because it's basically what you're doing is pruning, and it will get that full foliage look. And so you'll have plenty of extra plants too if it works out properly for you. What about winter care? As far as winter care, these plants, you need to bring them indoors. They're not going to just come up every year, at least not that I've seen. Usually if you keep them out and it's too cold, they're going to die back and they're going to die off completely. That's it for this video on the angel wing begonia. Please make sure to subscribe and hit that thumbs up if you like these kind of videos. We do appreciate you watching, and stay tuned for more videos.